Good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to the Shaping Sustainable Cities series. My name is Alex Glod, and today we are tackling a subject that, of course, is obviously intertwined with sustainability, and that is the subject of renewable energy. And we're going to talk today about not just the general trend and the general conversation around renewable energy, but how we can get involved in making renewable energy accessible for us as consumers, but also be in charge of creating or funding and sustaining other projects that can deliver renewable energy for cities and other communities around the country. Today's topic is, like I said, it's quite big, but we're going to focus, like I said, on something very specific, a project that I hope you will all find interesting. And if you have any particular questions, feel free to use the comment section, both on YouTube and Facebook. Right there, any question you might have for our guest today, and we will do our best to answer it. So my guest today is Gijsbert. Did I pronounce it properly?
Kind. Good enough for the first time.
Good.
Yeah.
So Gijsbert is our special guest. He today represents Cooperativa de Energie, but as well other interesting projects around renewable energy that we're going to learn a great deal from. And I usually start off with a bit of the story of our guests and telling you a bit of where they come from. Yet the story itself is so surprising. I would love to have it, said in your words, because from what I understand and from what I know about you, your story and your connection with Romania starts way, way back in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. Yes.
This was. How did that? How did Romania become part of your radar, so to say?
Oh, well, I was studying economics, and I think one of the key moments for me was when in November 1989 we organized a study trip to East Germany and Berlin, and just 10 days before we went there, the wall came down. And we were there in the middle as economics students, in the middle of, let's say, the remainders of one way of organizing your economy and another way of organizing your economy. And it was fascinating. All our meetings on the East German part were cancelled, but just walking around and getting the excitement of something new being created was just very interesting for me. And then for me on my summer holidays, instead of going to maybe Torremolinos or Spain to party and stay on the beach, I went to Katowice in Poland, or Bratislava, or Pécs in Hungary, and I ended up working for a small consultancy, Dutch consultancy business that was focused on Central and Eastern Europe. And that's how I got in contact and did some projects in Romania. And I thought in 1993, well, I can stay in the Netherlands, but I'd rather go to one of the Eastern European countries. And for me, the choice was made to go to Romania. And I started working in Bucharest, and I set up together with a colleague, a Romanian colleague, let's say the Romanian branch of this very small consultancy organization. We were just 3 people in the office in the beginning.
Mm-hmm, indeed. And since then, besides starting these projects, one of your passions became renewable energy. And I'm curious, what drove you on this particular path of renewable energy projects?
Well, something very simple. After about 10, 12 years in Romania, in 2005, I wanted a change of scenery. And together with my wife, we bought an old farmhouse in Spain, in Catalonia, near Girona, and we wanted to fix it up and live there. And we thought, well, there is a power line at a few hundred meters from the house. Okay, it will cost us a few thousand euros to get connected. and that's it. But it turned out to be very complicated and very expensive to get connected to the grids, because there was no capacity in the lines, and the local power company, which was a private company, said, well, we can connect you, but that's going to cost you 80,000 euros, which I thought was a ridiculously large amount of money, and kind of an abuse of power also from the grid company. And I was started looking for alternatives, and I had already some personal interest, I think, like many people, in solar power, and we opted finally for solar panels and batteries to power the house, being cheaper than paying, even at that time, than paying the 80,000 euros. And so I got to know a little bit how this whole energy system works. And once the panels were connected, I felt like, and I'm not a technical guy, I'm an economist, and I felt, wow, I'm a power producer. I always consider the power sector like coal power plants, nuclear power plants. This is a big plant for big companies. But suddenly I realized, and I like that feeling of being able to produce my own power. And from there, I went on, and I had some time on my hands. Was still involved in my companies in Romania, but not that much, from a distance, and I had some time to do something else. And I thought I wanted to do something with renewables. And in the Netherlands, we, in the 80s, after the oil crisis, several cooperative enterprises were set up to produce wind electricity, wind power, to set up wind turbines on a very small scale initially in the Netherlands. And I took those as an example and started looking for a similar cooperative in Spain to join. But as none existed, I found some friends, and they found some other friends, and we decided to set up one ourselves. And well, that was the start in 2010 of, and maybe you can share the screen, of a company called Som Energia, which means in Catalan, we are energy, which just started with, well, initially on the first, let's say, official meeting, we had the founders meeting, and we were 150 people, and very little experience. We started in the middle of the crisis, the financial crisis in Spain. There was no subsidy or help or anything from any organization to get started. But in a way, it's motivated us even more to get going. And now it's one of the biggest electricity cooperatives in Europe, with what you can see on the screen. The number of members is 68,450 at this moment, and continues to rise. And they're managing almost 120,000 electricity contracts. And it's an organization now with almost 100 employees.
Wow. And can you explain a bit of how this concept of a cooperative came to be? Because you probably know, in Romania, when people think of cooperatives, they think of the old communist times. It's kind of that has this, bad interpretation. But this is, from what I hear, a European concept that was developed some time ago. And just give us a bit of an idea of how it came about, and how does it work in principle?
Well, the funny thing is, I've collaborated with the remainders of some of the surviving worker cooperatives in Romania. I have an activity, a company in the furniture industry, and there were everywhere around Romania there were workers cooperatives involved in producing furniture, and unfortunately they were the worst. They were generally run by a president who decided everything. They had the president had a big office, a secretary, and then when you went down into the production area, it was just, the misery was dripping from the walls. Bad working conditions, old machinery, no investments, and generally very low motivation by everybody involved. The cooperative we have, the concept we have is different. It's not a workers' cooperative. It is a consumer cooperative, where the members join for a common concept, either to get, for example, a common economic benefit. But in our case, I would say they are looking for a common society benefit in order to join around a theme that they think is important to them. Other examples of these kind of consumer cooperatives or users cooperatives are some of, let's say, the very big cooperatives in the Netherlands. There are cooperatives that are collective buying cooperatives for example, fertilizer for farmers, and they join in one big cooperative. And I think it's already now happening in Romania, or for producers, that they share equipment that is too expensive for one to buy only for his 10 hectares. But if you have 10 or 15 farmers joining, then it makes sense for them to share, to buy a machine together and to use it together, and maybe to negotiate the selling of their products as a group, and to give them a better buying power. So it falls a little bit under this, but I would say for our members, the main motivation to join is a sense of empowerment, a sense of, ecology, sustainability, and to offer a real economic alternative to big multinational companies that, have had, let's say, a free play in Spain to do whatever they liked in order to optimize and maximize their profits. But it's not always what is best for society.
Indeed. I think this is one of the great aspects of a project like this, like you said, is that it really empowers people to get on into this domain, because indeed the domain of energy feels like, okay, this is something that the big guys take care of, and we're kind of lost and we have no option. And if you think about, in most big cities in Romania and across the world, you have there probably the biggest population that is environmentally conscious and wants to take part of it, but somehow they don't have the opportunity to do so. So, for example, if someone, let's say in Romania, and we're going to talk a great deal about Cooperativa de Energie. So how does, like, when these projects came about, how did it go? So first you started with finding people that wanted to fund the project, and then you found the producers of energy. How was the whole implementation process of projects like these? Because the numbers you have for Som Energia are really impressive.
That's right, but we also have to realize that the development of Som Energia has been exceptional, and it will be very difficult to replicate in any other setting. And there are a few similarly big cooperatives. So there's one in France, Energie, and there are, I think, two in Germany, Greenpeace Energy and EWS. There's one in Flanders, in Belgium, EcoPower, and then there are hundreds, thousands of smaller cooperatives that all have their own role and their own function and their own focus, because there are lots of these cooperatives have a much more, let's say, local focus. They can be in just one city, focusing on putting solar panels on roofs. Or they can be focused more on energy efficiency. But the whole energy sector, it's a very big and ultimately a super important part of our society, because energy is behind everything that we do. At least I've taken it for granted for a long time. You just plug in and you expect the electricity to come out. And when you want, to increase the heat in your house, you just, open the thermostat and you put it on. But behind that, it's an enormous system with all the impacts it has on our lives, for the sense of, as far as pollution is concerned. At this moment, we're in the middle of the whole climate change discussion. And it has big economic impact also. But with the new technologies that have been developed, which were, when I started in this sector in 2008 on our house, solar panels were very expensive and only economically, let's say, competitive in certain niche niche situations, but because it has been developed and it has had the support that it had over the last years from governments around the world, solar and wind now are kicking renewable, are kicking fossil fuel installations out of the market at an increasingly rapid rate. So it doesn't make sense, economic sense, in any country in Europe to build a new coal power plant, and even the operation of existing coal power plants is not economically viable anymore in many countries and many places around Europe and around the world. And that's fantastic, because it simplifies the whole discussion on renewables. Because 10 years ago, all the big guys said renewables, yes, they're nice, they're great, and then there was a big but. It's nice for 5%, 10%, but they're too expensive. And now we know that no, it can be 100%. And yes, it will involve a lot of decisions that we have to take together. But it is feasible, and it is also feasible, and it's especially for solar power. Solar power is fantastic. It works equally well with 2 panels on your roof as with 2 million panels in the desert, and the principles are the same, and the costs are not that different. So from that point of view, it's the most democratic form of energy that is around. But it needs, and here we get to why I think it's so important that people are involved in it with their consumption, with their decision power, and with their investments, is that it is only going to work. All these decisions in the energy system are very long term. If you put a new coal power central like we did in the Netherlands. The Netherlands made some big mistakes over the last 10, 15 years. They opened only a few years ago a modern, efficient coal power station, and they're going to close it right now. Because first of all, it's not competitive anymore, and second of all, the Netherlands is not reaching its targets for renewable energy, and this is the easiest way to reach them, just to close it. But somebody has to pay the bill, and we're going to all pay the bill for all the mistakes that we're going to make. So you need a long-term vision, a long-term objectives, and that also needs political support, societal support. And for politicians, and that was also one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have in the cooperative in Spain so many people, is that it's a non-partisan way to show this is important for us as a consumer, as a citizen. For me, it's not just the Green Party, it's just any party. And that makes it easier for politicians to accept this long-term view and to continue with the investments in an organized and structural way in this sector, because it's not going to happen. This whole energy transition is not going to happen in a few years. It's big, it's enormous, and it has to be coordinated well.
Indeed. Now, for the people that are watching, and they're saying probably that are also, like I said, environmentally conscious, and they want to get involved, what advantages does it provide to support a project like Cooperativa de Energie? If they become members, or if they want to support the movement, what is it that they can do, and what are their main benefits if they join a project like this?
Okay, so in Cooperativa de Energia, we have taken the example of the cooperative in Spain, and are in the process of applying that in Romania. But we're very early stage. We only started 1 year ago, and we are now about to buy a electricity trading company that has been in the market for a few years. And so to buy that, and then we can offer the service of selling electricity to our members and to interested both, let's say, private persons and companies around Europe, around Romania. That's one very concrete activity that we hope we can finish the basic deal over the next month. The second is that once we start that, we will continue negotiations on purchasing a power plant, probably a solar park, not too big, and finance this with contributions from our members. So you can both, let's say, consume your electricity and finance projects. For the moment, it will be existing projects, but with the plans around to increase renewable capacity in Romania, the next step would be to set up new projects. And these two activities together will be the starting basis. And from there, well, it depends on the members. It depends on the advances in the whole sector. Typical activities that, for example, we're doing right now is in Spain is helping our members to save energy in their houses. The other one is in Spain right now. Up to 2 years ago, it was legally very difficult to put solar panels on your roof, but the legislation has changed, and now it's also legally more simple and also financially more attractive. So we are organizing collective buying actions for our members on a regional basis around the country. And we've now held, I think, about 10 of these, and there are another 5 or 6 at this moment going on. Each of them is typically for 50 or 100 installations. And so we do the tendering to a local engineering company. We make sure that the panels are good, the inverters are good, the whole installation is of good quality, the contracts are okay, and people can just sign up and then pay for it. And they profit from the fact that it's not just you going to your local installation company, but it's 100 people at the same time. And this is something I think that's necessary. It's a necessary activity all around, because if you're not in this sector, and even for myself, and I've been professionally in this sector for more than 10 years now, this panel or that panel, which one is better? I don't know. Well, you have the technical data sheets, but there are experts to do that. This inverter or that inverter, how many panels do you need? So you need somebody that you trust to help you make the right decisions on that. And I think for the cooperative, the cooperative is an economic business model, but the aim of the cooperative is not to become, let's say, rich. All the members have the same vote. And it's not run by just one person for its personal benefit. It's run by everybody for our common benefit. So we don't have a specific commercial interest. We just want to be of service to our members and to help them get started in and be more active and actively involved in this sector. And so generally our members trust us because we're doing a good job, and because they see that they get good advice, they get good ideas of how they can reduce their environmental imprint or increase their own production. So and there are many more activities. There are hundreds of cooperatives in the Netherlands only. And if you look, and I can in a later stage I can share some websites for inspiration. They have all kind of different activities based on the needs of their local community. And maybe as I see, I can share another one. This is one example of a cooperative in the Netherlands, and I know it a little bit better because my brother-in-law is running it. It's also contagious if you're getting involved this, and you see that you get your friends involved in it, and then your family members, and then they set up their own cooperatives, and there's a little bit of competition because you try to do more or better things than they do. It's nice, but it's a friendly competition. So they, for example, they work with the local city council, and they are now doing over here. They're doing a big on a parking lot from the city. They're doing these covers with solar panels on it. How do you call it in English? Do you have a word for it, Alex?
The roof.
Like a solar roof, but it provides shade for the cars that are being parked there, and it provides production for nearby industrial companies. And this is a close collaboration with the city council. Other typical projects are, for example, the roofs of public buildings, schools, sporting facilities that are being made available for people in the area, in the city, or sometimes even only a part of the city. And they say, the city council says, you can use this roof, you can produce over there, and we will be the off-takers of the electricity. Or this cooperative also has an activity where they have this thermal heat scanning camera, and it's something that you will maybe use once to see where the heat is getting out of your house, which are the weak points of the insulation in your house, which is very useful to know. But it's not something you want to buy yourself necessarily, because you will use it once or twice and then you don't need it anymore. So they have one as a cooperative, and they share it. You can reserve it and use it for free as a member of the cooperative, and do this kind of heat check on your house. And then you can continue with other activities, how to save energy. And each cooperative is different. So I would also encourage, apart from people that are interested to become a member of Cooperativa de Energia, to see if there's anything else they would like to do in their area, in their city, other activities. And I would personally be very happy to support those, because there is so much to be done in the whole energy sector, and you need hundreds of initiatives in any country to just shape this whole landscape. And each initiative can be successful in its own way. It needs to be successful in its own way. This is going to be huge in 20, 30 years. The way we consume, collaborate, and work with energy will be completely different. At least I hope, because if not, we're toast, right?
Yes, we're going to be in big trouble if we're not going to be able to do this.
And it's possible, but it's a huge. We don't have to underestimate the enormous implications it has, and the enormous task that we have ahead of us. And finally, to be involved in it, and when I started with the whole climate change and everything, it's at moments you feel like you're this little rabbit, and there's this enormous climate change thing coming at you, like these enormous headlights coming at you. And what do? Run into the ground, your hole in the ground, go to the left, go to the right. It's such a big issue. But being involved in a cooperative, it's fun. There are like-minded people that share some of the values that you have. It's just fun to work for a common objective. But it's very concrete. There are things that we can do. Okay, let's start there. Only the things that we can do at this moment is not enough. But next year we'll start another project, and next year another project, and then another cooperative comes up. And then businesses also start to change. So it's a change that we need on every level in society, and it has to be pushed. And it's not going to happen just by governments. The governments need a kick in the ass once in a while.
True, and I think this type of structure of participation can really give a strong message to the local authorities, but also give a framework to collaborate. Because, like you said, there is the possibility for local administration to make certain roofs available for such projects, but there also has to be a community interested in it, right? Otherwise, it's just a measure in the dark. So there has to be a both strategy. And I was wondering, for people that, let's say, in Romania, that are prosumers in the sense that they have a roof of their own that they can put the solar panels on, can they in any way join a project like Cooperativa de Energie?
Yes, of course. They are the typical people who are, let's say, the front runners in society at this moment, and they should definitely join. And we don't have any specific services for them at this moment because there are only very few in Romania. But this is something we can define and we can work on together. And in Spain, this is now starting. For example, the excess energy that I produce on my house in Spain is now being sold to my cooperative, and the cooperative facilitates this. And the cooperative also facilitates that you get clear information on how much do you produce, how much you use for yourself, how much is your overproduction or underproduction, and this is a collaboration. And I would really encourage people to join and not join and wait what the cooperative is going to do for you, but also what you can do for the cooperative and how you can become active and make sure it goes into a direction that is good for Romanian society. I'm just a Dutch guy. I've been coming to Romania a lot, and I'm still very much involved in Romania. But we need everybody to be involved, and that can be. You can be. 90% of our members will be involved in a very simple way. They become a member. They will start buying electricity from the cooperative, and if they can, they will invest some money in it. But a part of the members will become actively involved. And in Spain, we have hundreds of our members that are organized in local chapters, and they look for projects. They co-organize these kind of collective buying actions, and for them that's a voluntary job. But this is their contribution is to an issue that is of big importance to them.
Indeed, I think this is we kept sending out this message to our community that most of the times we feel like the big decisions have to be taken by the people in charge, but at the end of the day, the most active ingredient in every city are citizens, and the citizens can move things in many directions. And unfortunately, due to, let's say, probably lack of education, or at least of possibilities of seeing that these things can be done, people can feel a little bit cynical or expecting for other changes to come from different directions. But what I love about this project is that, like I said, it does empower people. It does give them a framework to make a difference. And I'm really curious to see how this project spruns out, not just the Cooperativa de Energie, but like you said, to start off cooperativas on their own. Because you gave us some examples of how there is the national strategy in the case of how Cooperativa de Energie is a national project, but there's also the possibility of creating these cooperatives at a local level. Can you give us an example of something that worked in this way?
Well, most of the cooperatives, and I think the Netherlands is now nearing 400 to 500 cooperatives in energy. All of them have started over the last, or most of them started over the last 10 to 15 years. And only a few of them are working on a national scale. Almost all of them are working on a local scale. So typical is you find a piece of land and put on a solar park or some wind turbines, and the city decides that they're going to permit this, and even sometimes with preference, or sometimes it's a normal permit, and then you invite people from around the area to join you and finance with 100 euros, with 10,000 euros, according to the capacity of each and everybody. And this is something very concrete. You become a power producer, and once you're a power producer and a little bit involved in the project, you finally know what 1 kilowatt hour means. Because most of us, and when I started in this, I didn't really know, 1 kilowatt hour. What is this? How much is it? Why? How much does it cost? to buy from the electricity grid, and how much does it cost to produce? What does it involve? And I think it would be good if we all become a little bit more aware of this, and what is my total not only electricity use but my total energy use. And once you become involved actively in this, because there are articles around everywhere, YouTube films, and but this is for, let's say, the ones that really read the articles and understand it. It's just a small part of the whole society. We're all busy. We all, with our families, with our jobs, and there are many things in society that are important, not just the energy issue. But if you become involved actively as a consumer or an investor, you just start to look a little bit differently at these articles and become more a long-term participant in the whole process. And if we want to have a successful and efficient energy transition, this is really what we need.
Indeed. I hope that the people that have been tuning in today and that will see this recording afterwards will give more interest to Cooperativa de Energie and also to the concept itself, because it's a subject that or it's a business concept that I believe is really helpful for these type of initiatives, because it really can get some resources going very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, like, if besides the people that want to join Cooperativa de Energia, if there's, say, we have some people tuning in. Sorry?
No, I've just opened another website, because there is a European.
We seem to be having a bit of a connection issue, but from what I see here.
There is a very clear guide to, and it just appeared, to community energy, because we've been talking about cooperatives all the time, but the cooperative is just a legal form to organize people. And we shouldn't stick only with the cooperative business model. You can organize in all kind of different ways. The important thing is that people can become actively involved. It can also be an association or whatever, let's say, is more suited to either from a fiscal point of view or from a whatever the members want, right? As long as it works. So it can. The general term is community energy, community involvement. And that's what I think is the key issue. And here at ResCoop is the Renewable Energy Service Cooperative movement, uniting a few thousand cooperatives around Europe, and offering all kind of tools and examples that you can use and that you can use to inspire and to put in practice whatever ideas you get.
Indeed. Well, we're going to leave the links in the comments, both on Facebook and YouTube, for the people that would want to get into more detail on this subject, and as well as to follow Cooperativa de Energie. Now that we're coming close to the end of our conversation, what is one final message that you would love to leave the people in our audience that want to join similar projects? What is your final message for them if they want to get involved?
Well, don't hesitate. Become involved right now, because we need all the support we can get, and the best support we can get is other people joining. And there's something very funny now at the cooperative in Spain. Now it becomes so big. There are people that say, look, I saw the value of this initiative from the very beginning. My membership number is 675. So I became a member during the first year, and they're very proud of this. I have no idea how Cooperative is going to develop in Romania, but if you think it's a worthwhile initiative and would like to be involved, don't wait too long and become a member right now, because it only becomes successful if a lot of people join.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for tuning in today and for sharing this project and these initiatives. I hope, like I said, it will spark people's curiosity, and maybe we've managed to convince today a few members to join the Cooperativa. And if you want to follow Cooperativa de Energia, you can simply Google them. You'll find them both on YouTube, on their website, and I believe also on Facebook. You have a Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Exactly. So be in touch with them. You can ask them questions directly through their channels, and we'll have one more meeting this week on Friday. We're going to talk about how we make these big projects and big problems, how we solve them through a specific mindset and a specific structure. We're going to have a special guest plus the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands here in Romania to share with us a few words. And thank you all for tuning in today, and thank you for being part of our series, Gijsbert, because it is a pleasure and a sense. It gives. I think for me, every time I have one of these podcasts, it gives me a sense of hope that while these big problems seem huge and they seem impossible, it is heartening and inspiring to see that there is a way to tackle it from the ground up. And this is one of those projects that I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep an eye on in the next few months after our conversation.
Perfect. And I just want to thank you, Alex, and the embassy to have us here on your, how do we call it, your show, your program, and for helping us spread our initiative and the ideas behind it. And I would be very happy for anybody who joins, but I would be equally happy, or maybe even more happy for anybody who decides to set up their own initiative and do something for their own city or region. So I'm happy to collaborate with anybody in this field.
Indeed, and hopefully next year, when Urban Talks comes back to a face-to-face format, we would love to have you as one of our guests, and hopefully we can present Cooperativa de Energie as a valuable example for all of the cities in Romania, and this would spark a bigger movement later on.
Perfect. Be happy to join.
And awesome. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and see you Friday for our last series. And also, so if this is your first time watching our videos, subscribe and be notified for the next videos and events, because there's a lot of great things we can do now to shape the future of cities and to shape sustainable cities together. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.